You are listening to Season 2 of The Diary of a Wannabe Writer, the short and often daily podcast in which I chronicle my life and attempt to be a writer by writing daily. Sometimes.
Hello, today is Friday the 13th of June 2025 and you're listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer. And, I've just realised that it's Friday the 13th and that date feels particularly relevant today. Apologies, I am recording another discreet podcast from like a communal area at work. And if you listened to the podcast yesterday, you'd be assuming I would be reporting to you from Jeddah in Saudi Arabia today. Now, I did always say, all things being well, I will talk to you from Jeddah. But things don't always go to plan. It's one of the realities of working in the business that I'm in. And unfortunately, I didn't end up doing that flight. So what was supposed to happen was I was supposed to fly as a passenger to Jeddah last night, and the reason I was flying as a passenger was the outbound plane needed 8 crew, but the inbound plane needed 10 because it's on a slightly larger aircraft of the same type, but a slightly larger aircraft. So 2 of us had to fly out as passengers but would be working back. And then literally at the last minute, so I was at the gate, I had my boarding pass, I was just sitting there doing a bit of writing actually. I get a phone call to say they've now put the return flight on the same aircraft we're flying out on, the smaller one, so they don't need me. so I then have to, because I've entered the airport as a passenger, I then have to find a way from departures to arrivals and then leave via passport control, because technically I left the country when I went airside. So that was good fun. So I did that. And one of the things they did on the phones, they said, what would you like to do tomorrow? And they actually offered me the opportunity to have what we call a non-operational day today. And somewhat foolishly said, oh, no, I'll do whatever you need me to do. And they said, we've got a nice flight tomorrow. It's a 1 out positioning to Venice. So again, you go as a passenger and then you come back on Saturday. You just work back on Saturday and then you're done. That's it. You finish for the day. And I thought, okay, that sounds great. I'll do that. So obviously had to drive home last night, had to drive back to the airport today, and so once again I check in for my flight that I'm a passenger on. I get given a boarding pass, I go through security, I end up airside, and there's actually 4 of us at this time doing this positioning. So I find the other 4, we're sitting at the gate ready to board the plane, when one of us sort of notices that there's some information that you can only get if you are supposed to be on that flight, which we had all been able to access earlier. Suddenly we can't get that information anymore. Normally that only happens when you're not working on the flight. So we all go and look at our rosters, and yes, we've been taken off the flight. So once again, I'm airside, I have no flight to go on, and actually I've been put on airport standby instead. So I haven't been, so basically I then have to get back. It didn't take quite as long this time because it's during the day. There was somebody who could escort me from departures to arrivals, so it didn't take me very long to get back through and out through passport control. And they've taken pity on me because I've had a challenging couple of days. So rather than put me on standby, they've actually given me a flight. It isn't till later, but I'm going to, guess where? Venice. Not as a passenger this time. I'm actually operating out. It's the late flight tonight, and then I come back tomorrow afternoon. So what a complicated couple of days that turned out to be. Now it's just bad luck, it's not because of bad planning or anything like that. It's just that the reality is sometimes aircraft change, sometimes things change, and I'm just really unlucky to have had it twice in 2 days. I've never had that much disruption to my roster in the 11 years I've been doing this until today. So by tomorrow I suspect I will find it very, very funny. Anyway, So I'm actually sort of having a rest before I report for my flight in just under 3 hours. I'm going to have a little doze because I've been rushing around and I'm quite tired. I have done a little bit of writing, so I have been looking at chapter 27 in depth, in some detail. it starts off with Danny, and it's I don't know if the whole chapter is set away from the main characters, but it starts off with Danny being shown video of a tree absorbing a rabbit and sort of being asked, is that what happens to your friend when she talks to her pagan deity god thing? And he refuses to answer, and they do some fairly unpleasant things to him, and from memory he cracks quite soon. He eventually gives them the information because he's effectively being tortured, so it's quite unpleasant. But I'm enjoying writing it again. My writing I will do less, so my plan was obviously to do a bit of writing in Jeddah today. Obviously that hasn't happened. I have done a bit of work today, but I was hoping to sit on the plane last night and get a couple of chapters to the point where I could do my my paper sign off, but obviously that hasn't and is not going to happen, but that's fine. It is what it is. It's just been a really amusing couple of days. So let's just hope I end up on the flight tonight, because a couple of other flights seem to have been cancelled, and it would be just my luck that I wait here till 7:20 tonight and then find out that flight's been cancelled too. I will just laugh at that point. Anyway, yes, it's been an interesting couple of days, and whatever happens tomorrow, hopefully I will talk to you from, well, we don't actually stay in Venice, but we stay very close to it. So my aim is we don't leave until the afternoon. So my aim is to do a bit of work in the morning, and I will try and do a podcast whilst I'm doing that. So thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Goodbye.
You have been listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer. For more information about what I'm writing, go to linktr.ee/Richard Writes, capital R, capital W, where you can find details of my website and social media. I may see you there.